Alright, hello, welcome back to the stream. Good to see everyone. Hello, any key. Let's bring up the comment highlighting feature again. Hello, Dev Ghost. Hello, I'll just call you SW. Welcome, welcome. Alejandro, hello. And Brekek, good to see you all again. So yeah, this stream we're just going to be adding content to Gunforged. That's basically it. So yeah, it'll be a very content-focused stream here. But before I get started, check out the links in the description below. I have a brand new C# course available now for Godot. So check out that link. That's the first link in the description. It's still on sale for its launch discount. So use that first link to get the discount. And also just generally, if you're going to be interested in buying a course from me, make sure to use the links in the description below because that uses my referral code and I get a majority of the proceeds when purchases are made with my referral code. So anyway, hello Daniel W, welcome, welcome. I like your game, I'm from El Salvador. Well, welcome. Hello Real Cruda. All right, so we are going to yeah, first thing up, what do I have first up? I have my handy dandy Kanban board here. So, as you can see, my to-do list is empty and I only have one more in progress thing. So I'm thinking that depending on how long this in progress thing takes, I'm thinking that we will then go through and fill up the to-do list again, and we'll fill it with some content so that I can continue just making this stream focused on making content. But the first one we have in progress here is we're going to add an affix for a gun that is going to be where you hit enemies. If you hit enemies that are on fire, there's a chance to send a fireball in a random direction. So there's a lot of pieces to this, and we're just going to get started working on that. I have not done any work on that yet. So, where do we start? That's a good question. The first place to start is probably with creating an affix. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's see. Affix. Let's create a resource first. Affix, what do we want to call this? Call it Magma, maybe. That sounds good to me. Resource. Affix resource. We're going to call this one Magma. Okay. Open up that Magma icon texture. So we're going to need an icon texture for it. Let's just go ahead and leave that empty, I suppose. And let's go ahead and create a... Let's open up the poison affix, because this is a good one to sort of use as the base here. And let's create a new file in here. We're going to call this magma affix.cs. Paste that in there. Change this to magma affix. This magma affix has a feature tag fire. So we'll change that. Get description. What are we going to do? Maybe instead of a chance on hit, I'm interested in doing something different. So, Actually, so what I was thinking is making it, instead of having a chance on hit of launching this magma, I was thinking about making it, like, keep track of how many hits you have, so every 10th hit. But I actually don't think I have a way of tracking how many hits are being done. Because this is just like a standalone class, it's not connected to anything in particular. I suppose I could just store it on this affix class, but that seems wrong to me. Because then if you had a magma affix on both guns, they would share a counter, which is not something that I necessarily want to do. So yeah, I don't know what to do. How am I doing? I'm doing well. How are you doing? How's everyone doing? Doing very well. So I guess I'll just make it a chance. There's no sense in trying to architect a solution for this, so we'll just make it a chance. Now the question is, what is an appropriate chance? I keep using 5% because that's a reasonable chance, so let's do this. Occurrences times 5. Chance to launch magma when hitting a burning enemy. Is that what the language I used? When hitting targets How am I supposed to word this? 5%, well, I guess it doesn't really matter that much right now. So get description, we'll just worry about that wording later. So on entity collision, so this is basically the event that we want to handle here. Now, let me think about this. I'm gonna need to load I'll need to load a scene like that. Yeah, so similar to this. So let's go ahead and paste that over here. So we're gonna do a magma scene game object. We'll call this bullet magma. I think that's where we want it to go. So I'm gonna do as much of this in scripting as possible without running the game. So we're getting the status receiver of the entity that's being hit. That's good. Entity collision event. Yeah, okay. So the status receiver, what we're going to do is we're going to say if status receiver dot has status, and we're going to pass in the string. So that's the fire status dot scene path. So if not has status, then we'll just return out of there because it doesn't matter. Okay, var. And let's do this. If not, or let's do this. If mathutil.rng.randf is, oh, you know what? Yeah, I need this percent here. If mathrng.randf is greater than percent, then we're also going to return. So it has to be less than the percent. So it's got to be less than or equal to 5.05 whenever we're generating this random number. Okay, and then if we pass all of those things, then what we're going to do is we are going to spawn the magma scene. So we're going to say var hurtbox component is equal to entity collision event dot entity dot get first node of type. We're going to get the hurtbox component. Okay, and then var spawn position is equal to hurtbox component dot global position. Otherwise, we'll default it to the entity position. So we'll do entity collision event dot entity dot global position. Okay, and now we need to spawn this magma scene. So I'm going to do this dot get base. Oops. I think I need to do entity collision event dot tree dot get base dot root dot get base level dot entities dot add child. Oh my goodness. Let's add the child magma, but we need to instantiate that. So var magma is equal to magma scene dot instantiate instance I need to update this. Instance or free. We'll just instantiate that as a node 2D right now because we don't have the Magma. Get base level, add child Magma, yep. And then we're going to set that Magma global position. Let's do that beforehand. Magma.global position is equal to spawn position. And that should be it. Now we probably need to pass along the gun stats and everything, but since I don't have that Magma type, I can't do anything with that gun stats yet. So we'll stop with this script here, and then we'll go along. You're doing well. Currently dealing with a blocked nose. That's not fun at all, but I hope you get better soon. Hello, Jabali. Can I become the master in awesome without a CS degree? Great content, by the way. Also, what is a high fantasy Globin style? Okay. Yeah, so I would say that, yeah, you absolutely can become very good at programming without a degree. As a matter of fact, I think you can make a good argument that a lot of the best programmers are people who either don't have degrees or have irrelevant degrees. I've worked as a software engineer for a number of years, and many of the most brilliant programmers that I worked with had backgrounds in totally unrelated things. Like one person had a degree in theater, another person had a degree in music performance. And these are some of the best engineers that I've worked with. So yeah, you absolutely can learn how to become a great engineer just by looking on YouTube. I mean, of course, you still need to educate yourself, right? So watch YouTube, read books. You don't need a college education to learn this skill set in particular. I actually am very much against people going to college for computer science unless you're getting into something that's very, very technical, like CPU architecture design, or like you're going to be doing embedded programming or writing, you know, assembly or something. Then I think that having that like really like science and theory background is very useful. But if you just want to like write scripts for games and write like modern software that just runs in like the browser or whatever, I don't think you really need college at all. The tea in Firebelly stands trash. Oh my gosh, I'm getting roasted already. But there's no tea, so that's true. Also, to answer your other question, what is high fantasy Globin style? So I released a game recently called Globins for GMTK 2024, and basically imagine that game and how that game plays, but set in a high fantasy universe, so like elves and orcs and dwarves and all that stuff. That's basically what I'm going to be doing next. I have some developers without a CS degree. They have bootcamp and or GitHub profiles. Yeah, bootcamps are really good. I have a friend right now who's going through a software engineering bootcamp, and it is very thorough. And the other unspoken benefit, or the thing that doesn't go mentioned, is that unfortunately, at least in my experience, because I did go to college, the professors there are completely out of touch with what modern software development looks like. I don't know if there was a single professor at my college that would have known how to set up like a modern, you know, like if you were going to set out to build a SaaS app, I don't think that they could have told me how to set up like a SaaS app tech stack, because they just don't know what private companies are doing, like what tools they're using, what stacks they're working with. They're just out of the loop. It's not because they're dumb people. It's just they're not in the industry, and so they don't know what the industry is doing. Whereas like boot camps, they're always responding to what the industry is doing. And a lot of the boot camps, they actually run placements where, you know, when you finish your boot camp, they will write letters of recommendation for you, or they'll place you into like an apprenticeship or something. So yeah. Guys, why only 4 likes? Like it up. Yeah, seriously. How do I come up with the name Firebelly? That's a good question. I think I've said it before, but the long story short is that it was the first Firebelly, spelled without an EY, was the first online name that I had for online games. But then when I went to set up a PlayStation Network account, the name without the EY at the end was taken. So I intentionally misspelled it with an EY, and it just stuck. And the name Firebelly came from, I had a pet Firebelly toad as a kid, which is just like a frog with like a red underbelly. And that was where the name came from. I'm a music undergraduate and I've managed to get to a decent point in 2 years by applying myself as much as I could. Yeah, many such cases. Yeah, I mean, some people do better in a formal education environment, but I think that should definitely be an option for people. I just don't think it's a necessity for everyone. Second stream today. Yeah, sometimes I do 2 streams when I'm feeling it. I'm 15, I'm still coding in Scratch, I'm cooked. No. No, you're fine. You got plenty of time. You'll be amazed at how much better you'll get by the time you're like 17 or something. I started programming when I was like 14 and I was just awful at it. Like, I mean, what else are you gonna expect, right? Okay. So, let's go ahead and create that magma scene now, which I believe I put it in the bullet. First of all, I want to see what that shock grenade. Yeah, so shock grenade artillery bullet component. Isn't that quite a name? So let's do this. New inherited scene. I'm looking for artillery bullet component. Artillery bullet component. This is going to be called Magma artillery bullet component. Let's go ahead and save that. Scenes. Game object bullet. Save it in there. Okay. And I want to show this in the file system. Copy this path. Make sure to put this back into my Magma affix here. Okay. And now there has to be some things done here. So shock grenade artillery bullet component. I think that I'm basically going to copy this script here from my shock grenade because it's basically the same thing. Go to my Magma artillery bullet component, remove that script, add a new script. Paste it there, change this to Magma. Cool. Radius, let's do a generous radius of 64. Damage. Now the magma should probably spread fire status.scene path. Radius, thickness is good. Damage, gun stats. Okay, so let's see where this is being used, this shock artillery bullet component. I'm basically going to copy all this. So Magma. This is going to be instantiated as a Magma artillery bullet component. Okay, so let's go ahead and grab a reference to the player. So var player is equal to this dot get, or no, handler arguments, no, entity collision event dot tree dot root dot get player. If player is equal to null, then we're going to return. So player dot center position, target position. So we need to establish a target position. How is this working here? Player get global mouse position. Interesting. What I'm concerned about here is that this may end up going outside of the arena, but maybe I shouldn't worry about that. I don't think it matters. So I need to establish a target position. So what I'm going to do to establish a target position is I'm going to say var let's do this. Private const min distance is equal to 16. Oops, I should probably specify a type in here. Float. Private const float max distance, we'll say 64. Okay, so var distance is equal to mathutil.rng.randf range min distance, max distance. Oops. Max distance. Var direction is equal to vector2. Well, actually, I think I can do this. Mathutil .rng.rand direction. Nice. And then my target position is going to be the entity collision event dot entity dot. Well, actually, the spawn position plus direction times distance. Okay, so that's my target position, and then my gun stats are going to be the, do I need to set the damage on this? Set damage, yeah. So let's do this. Var gun stats is equal to entity collision event dot gun stats dot duplicate. Okay, and then we're going to do magma dot set. Well, let's see. Let's do 75%. I'm going to change this to burning targets. Magma.set damage, we're going to do 0.75f times gun stats.damage per second. All right, so all of that should be good. Travel speed, we probably don't want it to be that high. Let's do 75. Sounds good to me. Okay, so we've got that affix in place now. Magma artillery bullet component. This color probably needs to change, so let's see what that's all about. Let's see, we'll just use like an orange, I guess. Okay. Add status to apply fire status. Yep. So that's going to apply the fire status. Cool. That seems good to me. Base.notification. This doesn't need to be seen, does it? I actually don't think that needs to be a scene. Could be wrong. Well, I might need that anyway, so we'll just keep that. So now I need to add the affix to the affix registry. So add item, new magma affix. And of course I need a visual for this. So let's add a child node, sprite 2D. Let's just give it a placeholder texture for now. We'll just do 16 by 16. That's good enough. And let's go ahead and try it out. So I'll use my MOS receiver. We'll add element magma as a guaranteed affix there. And let's see if I did everything correctly. One of my better programmer was a former English teacher who started coding in her 40s. Being able to explain things in great detail while assuring no prior knowledge is great for programmers. Yes, absolutely. I code in Batch and PowerShell. I made a video for this channel that actually went pretty unnoticed, which I was bummed about, but I made a text-based adventure game in the Windows command prompt recently. Is there like one button I can press to disable IntelliSense? Like the way it's appearing for you, never auto-completing more than the current typed word. There are settings around that, yes. There's also hotkeys to hide and show the IntelliSense on demand. I just don't know what those hotkeys are, and so I just deal with the annoyance. Why am I split screening this to HCR2? I don't know what that is. Arnold C is the best programming language. Still coding there here as well. Nice. What is the BYOG 2024 jam? What is that? Me staring at Scratch for 4 hours trying to fix that one simple bug that doesn't go away unless I remade a game from... Oh, yeah. Yeah, there should be. Yeah, there's definitely ways to like control the IntelliSense a little bit. Okay, let's see. 5% chance to launch Magma that deals 75% weapon DPS when hitting burning targets. Let's go. Build your own game jam. Okay. Who's host? Is that an actual jam? Who's hosting that? I wish I could do. Maybe I'll do. Oh, I don't know if I can do Ludum Dare actually. I think Ludum Dare is coming up in October. Oh, you know what? I also need the enemies to be on fire, which is something that I forgot to do. So that affix isn't going to work anyway. Loot Goblin, though. Dang, I just got the Loot Goblin. I just got the Loot Goblin. Let's just go ahead and add fire as well. Game Dev India. Oh, gotcha. Hey, how you been holding up to new versions? Also, thoughts on GD extension and C# future? I hesitate to pick it up when I might as well use a GD extension like Swift or Rust. Yeah, so the new versions of Godot are great, I think. There's new 4.x versions are improving things, especially in C# quite a bit. Less rendering issues, less C# issues generally. I think that's great. And GD extension, I don't know much about GD extension. My understanding is that you were supposed to be able to write pretty sophisticated extensions for Godot with C#, is that right? If that's so, and I think, didn't they say that they were thinking about moving the C# functionality to an extension itself as well? I mean, being able to like, I think what Godot is really missing is like they have the add-on system, which is nice, where you can modify the actual UI of the editor and give users extra tools. Like having just a more robust way of doing extension development is definitely something that I'm looking forward to, because there's all kinds of stuff that I would like to build. It's just a little bit finicky with the way things are going now. Why is it spawning? Do you see that pink square? Why is it launching from me and then going over there? That's not right. Magma affix. Origin is not player.center position. The origin is the spawn position. Destination is target position. Okay. Now we can try it. Oops. Played the wrong thing. Context, so I made a burb-themed adventure game. I had this bug where NPCs just keep hurting houses, literally. I tried everything. Doesn't work. I remade that thing. It worked again. Scratch is like it's like a UI-based logic, right? I perused the forums issues on this. C# GD extension is probably the future. I've built GD extension with Swift bytecode. It is a bit poorly documented. Yeah, it just seems like a somewhat underdeveloped area of the engine to me. Also, if GD script makes binding, or GD extension makes certain language bindings easier, that would be cool, because I've always wanted to use like JavaScript or TypeScript as the scripting language for Godot, mostly because I'm familiar with it, but also because if you were able to pull in like NPM packages and use that as part of your game build, that would unlock so much additional functionality. It'd be crazy. But anyway, I think there is a JavaScript binding which you can do that, but it's not, it's a little bit cumbersome to use. That game looks so majestic. So I've got the pink squares spawning from this guy while shooting him sometimes. Now they won't spawn at all. Come on, give me a pink square, come on. Magma, there we go. So that's looking good. Oh, there's two now. Sometimes they happen in quick succession, and then sometimes they just don't. I think it looks good though. So the only thing really to do here is to give this some art and whatnot. So let's go ahead and do that. File new. I like the 16 by 16 size. I think that looks good. Now I'm going to try to make a magma ball, and I'm going to fail miserably, I'm sure. Because there's all kinds of weird stuff about magma, you know? It's got like a bunch of layers. But I think I might be able to pull it off. I think I might be able to pull it off. I'm just kind of doing things haphazardly right now. There needs to be some dark spots, that's for sure. So like some dark browns maybe. Got the sweet jazz from Lo-Fi Girl. Okay, this is not looking terrible. It kind of is. I've seen worse. From me. How many of you were here when I was struggling to make the loot goblin? I think that this section just needs to be toned down a little bit. Okay. Yeah, I think what I'm discovering is that these brighter sections need to be very much reduced. I mean, that looks passable to me. This big thick chunk in the middle here though needs to go probably. Yeah, that looks good, and then maybe... Okay. And then reduce the size of this one up here a little bit. Well... Not necessarily my finest work, but it's going to suffice. Maybe if let me just play around with this color a little bit. Maybe not use something as dark. Ooh, purple kind of looks good. That don't look too bad. I feel like there's just a lack of highlight in that section there. Maybe I'll just leave it. Maybe this section needs to be thicker. I think that probably looks all right. This one, what happens if I just move this down? Okay, well, I think it's a little bit unbalanced. I think I probably need some more, like, something up here. Actually, yeah, maybe if I add like a little bit of a... Let's see. Always wondered how lifetimes were managed in these roguelike combos you were making. Oh, you mean like the how all the events happen together? Pixel art galore, yeah. Looks like a cookie from hell. Are you serious? Yeah, I mean, I guess it's kind of true. Solar grenade, yeah. Just imagine a cookie gun. Solar grenade. Yeah. My goodness, it's so fun to feature your comments on the stream. I don't know why. It's just like... So people watching the VOD can... Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Can keep up with the comments I'm responding to, I suppose. So here... It doesn't look terrible with the outline now. So assets. Now the question is, where do I save this? Gun. Nope. If not in effect, right? Currency. Nope. Encounter, nope. Entity, nope. Environment, nope. Affix, that's where it goes. Magma.png. Bam. This is gonna look fine, trust me. Okay. So now, let's go ahead and add... Actually, let's not add. Let's go to... Fire status. We shall copy this. And we're gonna paste it in here. Oops. Add child node GPU particles 2D. Let's paste that in there. Paste. Okay. We're going to make this unique recursive so that we're not breaking the reference. Bring over that particles texture here. Bring over that canvas material. Boom. All right. So that's looking good. The GPU particles 2D. Let's change the lifetime to 6. Sounds good to me. Or maybe 0.4 instead. Yeah, 0.4. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it that 4. So it's going to emit 4, but then I'm going to add another one behind. So background particles, foreground particles. And so now, as the Magma artillery component flies, it'll have stuff coming out the back and stuff coming out the front. Perfect. And let's change these, well, I guess it doesn't matter. Let's change the emission shape to sphere surface. Nice. Yeah, that's perfect. That'll be fine. So yeah, I guess I suppose we'll see what that looks like. Unimpacted. So kill is going to happen. Emit signal, signal name died, queue free. Okay, so the particles are going to die immediately, but that's probably fine. Drop GD script. I'm not sure what you mean. Makel? It's one of those lava cookies from Pokemon Emerald. If Magma and a cookie had a fusion dance, is that a Mookie or a Mag key? Oh my gosh. Are you serious? Do you use references to design your sprites? Sometimes I do, yeah. Sometimes I don't. As you can see, I just did the Magma without doing a reference, which maybe I should have used a reference, but sometimes pulling up a reference is too much work, you know? Also, I think I need to make that Magma sprite unshaded. Oh my gosh, come on, Magma. Okay, you know what? This is ridiculous. I can't see what's going on, so I'm going to change this. Let me stage what I have. And then this, we're just going to turn this to 1. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do unshaded material. Put this on the sprite. So that it's not being affected by the lighting at all. Because it's Magma, it's supposed to glow, right? It's producing its own light. Do you know, Firebelly, why dragging a button in a particular direction makes its color to disable? I do not know. Do you want to provide more information and maybe I can help you debug that? Oh, the sun is coming in right in my eye. Do you see that? It's coming through my curtain, too. My curtain's very thin, so... So there's the Magma. I think that maybe instead of providing a travel speed, I should supply a travel time here. So the way that this artillery works is I can either supply a time, like 0.75 seconds, and then it will adjust the trajectory of an artillery bullet. It will adjust that trajectory so that it stays in the air for 0.75 seconds, or I can supply a speed, which means that it'll go that speed along the X direction. So I have both ways of controlling it. So I'm going to make all magma stay in the air for 0.75 seconds. That might be too long, but I want to see if that works. Not a vampire confirmed. Yeah. I could go get it. Well, I mean, wait, are vampires visible to cameras? Because, like, wouldn't it have already been confirmed that I'm not a vampire here? Given the fact that I'm on the video. I actually don't know. Like, what is the vampire lore there? Whatever it is, it had to be modified after the invention of cameras, right? It's a good question. I mean, because if a camera fundamentally works by just reflecting light, then okay, I don't know why I went to this table. I just want to try this. So you can see now the magma, even when they spawn a short distance away, they are hanging around for 0.75 seconds, so they're getting launched out and then... I think I want to change some things here, though, about this. Magma artillery bullet component, this duration, let's make that 0.5. Let's go to my dungeon level, or dungeon arena. Let's turn this to debug mode. Invisible in mirrors. Modern digital cameras don't use mirrors. Okay. I recognize that VS Code theme. We still may be a vampire, yeah. Dracula. There we go. So we got magma working now. It's a little bit awkward that the flame particles are disappearing right away, but I don't think that's a huge deal. All right, so we got magma coming out of burning enemies now. Now, one thing is that I'm a little bit bothered by is that it does not trigger. So if an enemy is not burning, so I have a fire stack. I have a fire stack here, and then this magma is going to. It's going to be handled. Is it in order of the affix's appearance? Because what's going to happen is that ideally what would happen is, let's say that an enemy isn't burning and you apply a fire stack, it should still have a chance on that same hit for a magma orb to be sent. But that's not happening. So if I hit him once, it doesn't work. But if I hit him subsequently, then that works. Now the question is, do I want to go through the effort of fixing that, or do I want to just say, it's a quirk of how the game works and we're not going to handle that? Let me think about how difficult that would be, because on entity collision, this is called from the gun affix manager. So it's calling handle affixes when an entity collision event happens. It's supplying a function that's going to be called, or that's going to return a delegate. So this returns a delegate. And so this get delegate here. So that's the handler. Okay. So this is going in order. So for each var affix in game event gun stats affixes. So one thing that I could do is I could add a priority to affixes, and then as the affixes on the guns are changing, I can reorder them within the list. Because I guarantee you, if I did this, let's see, if I go to my MOS here, my MOS receiver, and I move this fire element first in the list, I bet you now it would start working, because it's going to apply the fire status first, and then it's going to do the magma check. That's a good question. How am I going to handle that? Do I need fine-grained control over the priority, or can I just set things to happen in like a deferred fashion? So if I hit that guy, yeah, there's a magma that came out right away. So the question is, do I want to spend the time fixing that? Because that has all sorts of implications, because I think this affix order shows up in the UI. Although I could do something tricksy. Like what I could do is have a private list of gun part affixes that's like the ordered affix list. And I could just update that whenever the affixes change. The only problem being that that's not happening in here. Oh, from part resources, yeah. Oh, What about spawn a small fire where the magma explodes? I could do that. Do I want to do that, though? Do I want to do that? The magma already spreads the fire status. I'll think about that. I gotta think about that. I don't want to, because everything that I add is going to be a little bit overpowered, because right now it does 75% weapon DPS, and then when it explodes in that radius, it will spread the fire status. But then if I put a fire area on the ground too, that's going to be an area that also does damage and also spreads the fire status. So I don't want to go too overboard with it, but that would be cool thematically. Neozoid, I'm actually dragging a button using global position equals get mouse global position, and when I drag it, I want the button to be of some color. It has a normal style resource applied, it works fine when I hover it, but when I drag its color, it becomes visible and invisible in specific directions. Okay, so I don't know if this is your problem, but if you're trying to drag a button around by changing its global position, it may be the case that the mouse entered and mouse exited events are behaving finicky, so that you're actually changing the hovered state quite frequently based on it moving around and being inside or outside of the button. So I think, first of all, see if that has something to do with it, and then you'll have to find some way to like freeze the state it was in when you start dragging it. That would be my hunch as to what's happening, but if that's not it, then I'm afraid I don't have enough information to give you a solid answer, but that would be my initial suspicion, is that the mouse events that controls naturally handle is somehow getting messed up when you're moving it around. That's a problem for future you. That guy probably has a lot of problems, yes. Add Dune Buggy from HCR2. I don't know what HCR2 is. What is HCR2? HCR2. I'm probably going to be like, oh yeah, when you say it. Yeah, is that a problem for future me, this affix ordering, or do I want to figure that out right now? I could do something simple like, the problem is what I'd have to do is essentially, when I get these affixes, so the stats affixes add range, I need to like process them to defer, to mark some as deferred, I guess. You're welcome, Neozoid. Do I want to handle this right now? I don't think so. I think I'll just avoid that rabbit hole for now, and we'll move on and do something else. So I have to, this is the part with testing everything. I have to make sure to diligently remove everything that I messed up here. Which means that in here, this percent needs to go back to 0.05. That can be removed. MOS receiver, cool. Okay. Oh, you know what I do? You know what I need to. Wow, can I speak, please? I would like the gift of speech to return to me now. You know what I need to do is I need to update the icons, the rune icons here. Now, is this one going to be too big? That's the question. Probably not, actually. I'm just looking at how this needs to be oriented here. So do some of this, and then I take some of the highlights here. Okay, and then I don't know what all this is up here, but that is probably not going to look good. So we'll go ahead and select this rune icon in here. Bloop. All right, there we go. Now I'm going to have to go back to my MOS. Do I need to do that? Rune text direct. Yeah, I'm just going to put this icon here. See what it looks like. Copy. Paste. Oh, that looks fine. Yeah, that looks fine. Easy peasy. I love when I can just copy and paste the sprite that I already made, use it as an icon. Okay, added Magma affix. Sweet. HDR2, Hill Climb Racing 2? Oh, okay. Gotcha. You're correct, it's something to do with the global position. Yeah, controls are very weird. You run into lots of problems when you try to manipulate them like you do in Node 2D. Me making a Python app just to calculate the exact velocity and angle to brake snowmobiles. Don't you love when you get so involved in a game where you break out the spreadsheets and you're like, all right, how do I make this work? You know, I made, back in the early days of Diablo 3, I actually made a Diablo 3 build planner where it would actually scrape the Diablo 3 website for all of the item information, like the gear and weapons and stuff. That would be run as like a pre-ingestion or a pre-deploy script that would gather all that data as JSON, and then in the deployed website you could like view all the equipment and you could put the items on a paper doll and plan out your build. Ultimately, like mine wasn't like super sophisticated though. Like there are some build planners that out there that do like all the calculations and stuff. Mine was just, oh, here's all the set items you want to get and whatnot. So it was very basic, but that's how you know I was obsessed with Diablo 3 for a while. So, all right, I'm going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at the board here and figuring out which other new content we can add in the stream tonight. So in the meantime, check out the links in the description below to support my work. Most notably, I've got the new Godot C# course down below. It's still on sale for its launch, so you can get it at a discounted price by using that first link in the description below. And yeah, I guess that's it. So I will be back in a couple of minutes and we'll continue making some more content for Gunforged. All right, I'm back. Skull wearing purple oversized hoodie. Skeleton wearing purple oversized hoodie. I already have plenty of skeletons in this game, but that is a good idea. All right, let's move this one from in progress to done. All right, so what do we got in the backlog here? Body slamming zombie enemy. I still want to do that, but I don't know if I want to do that tonight. Animate Gunforged UI. Find alternate way. That's not new content. Indicator for dash recharge time. That can be useful. Make well drop runes as well as passives. Create a void level as a third map. Okay, I don't like any of those. Let's scroll over to the player passive ideas and see what we got here. All right, so we got dashing into enemies deals damage. Yada yada. Spread fire to nearby enemies. Probably don't need that one. One stack of movement speed when an enemy dies. That could be an interesting one. Gain infinite ammo when taking damage. Invulnerability for 1 second when picking up gold. That would be nuts. Probably overpowered, but deal damage equivalent to your current gold when picking up gold. That probably would not be very powerful, but it could be tweaked a little bit. Increased gold drop rate. Okay. Frozen area. One additional weapon part. Grants a small burst of movement every time you kill an enemy. A lot of these passives aren't very good. Ice Nova. Gain a burst of movement speed when applying shock to an enemy. The problem with this like burst stuff is that you're basically killing enemies all the time, so it's just like a permanent buff. I know it says a 5-second cooldown, but after applying shock X times, release Thunderclap. Although I guess what that does is that the shock is a better idea because it forces you into a build, right? So I guess this is fine, like gain a burst of movement speed when applying shock to an enemy. This is fine because in order to make use of the passive, you have to have some shock in your build, right? So that is at least something, right? It's dependent upon a certain playstyle. Oh my gosh, the cat wants attention. There you go, you got your attention, see? After applying shock X times, release a thunderclap. When switching guns, release a lightning bolt. Why is there so many lightning? Create a whirlpool that pulls enemies in when you dash. That would be an interesting one. A minion that suplexes enemies. A laser that appears and loosely tracks enemies dealing damage. I need something like poison. Poison related. Let's see, what other gun affix ideas do we have? Deal increased damage the longer the player stands still. Apply charm to enemies. Twin gun statuses. Enemies that are hit while bleeding explode. Chance not to consume ammo on fire. Enemies have a chance to explode gold on death. Chain lightning increases the number of chains per stack. I want to do something with poison. Gain movement speed when taking damage. Kind of like that whirlpool idea. The cat, yes. Cato. The cat. Cat in a box. Add a skeleton, yeah. I mean, like I said, I already got skeletons. I want to do something, I want to do a modification of this whirlpool, I think. Let's do this. Create a whirlpool that pulls in enemies. I'm going to modify that slightly though, because a whirlpool is going to be very hard to do visually speaking, but I've got an idea for something easier. Let's just start with that. That's probably going to take a little bit of time to do. I'm interested in doing like ice status as well, but I'm kind of torn on that because I really shouldn't be adding new stuff. I've got poison, I've got shock, I've got bleed, I've got oil. Poison, shock, bleed, oil, fire. So I've got 5 different statuses, and I don't have a lot of passives and affixes that go with those. Like, I barely have anything related to oil. So I'm gonna have to think about that. But anyway, let's do this one. So instead of a whirlpool, what I want to do is I want to have, instead of a whirlpool, when you dash, it'll spawn an item that shoots out like tentacles or chains or something to all the nearby enemies and grabs them and slowly reels them in. So like it'll grab them and just pull them in. That's going to be very difficult for a number of technical reasons. So it's going to be a little bit interesting to figure out how to solve this. But first, let's start with the passive. Add Romanians to my game? Everyone can be Romanian if you want. All the enemies or the main character. Poison when dashing looks good. Yeah, that's a good one. All right, so let's see. What are you doing? The cat has been so good all day, and now he just needs his attention. All right. So let's go ahead and create a passive here. And I keep forgetting how to do the passive. I need to go to my passive resources here. Passive, create new resource, player passive resource. What are we going to call this? Oh, goodness. There's a word. Oh, that's not a good word. Never mind. Why? I don't know. I don't have a good name for this. I'll just call this dash chains for now. Title. I'm just going to call it for real, but real as in like reeling in fish. Max stacks 1, description. When dashing, create a machine that reels in nearby enemies. I don't know. Feature tags. Maybe we could tie this to poison in some way, or oil perhaps. But anyway. Okay, now let's create a new scene. Component, passive, create new scene of type node. We're going to call this, what do I call it? Dash chains passive. Is that what I called it? Yeah. So we got our dash chains passive. Scripts. I'm actually kind of curious if this is actually going to work. But as a famous news anchor once said, we'll do it live. That's the PG version, or the G version, I guess. Okay. So dash chains passive. So I need to listen to the player dash event. Hey, bud, you can't be grooming yourself here. You can't be grooming yourself here. Hi. Maybe a spider gun that shoots a web or trap slow down enemies for a moment. I like a spider gun. Goodness. All right. Override void ready. So in here, game events dot instance dot what am I doing? Player, is there a player dash started? Yeah, player dash started. How am I connecting to these things? Game events dot instance dot connect. Ow. Signal name player dash started. Oh, I already have a fire dash trail. Cool. Callable.from. So I'm connecting it to it the classic style. So stop, cat. Oh goodness. Game events dot signal name dot player dash started. Callable dot from on player dash started. Private void on player dash started. So in here, I need to spawn a scene of some kind. Export private packed scene dash chains scene. I don't know what else to call it. On player dash started. Does this have game events? Player dash started. Yeah, there's a player dash started event. Okay. Player dash started event. We don't care about the argument though. Actually, maybe we do care about the event. EVT dot. Oh, yeah, I don't care about the event here. Var player is equal to this dot get player. If player is equal to null, return. Goodbye, cat. If the player is equal to null, what do we want to do? Or if not equal to null, I mean. So we need to take that dash chains scene, instantiate as node 2D. This dot get base level dot floor dot add child dash chains dash change dot global position is equal to player dot global position. So I'll spawn it at the player's feet. Add dash chains. Okay, now we probably want... No, that's probably fine actually. Okay, I think that's good. So let's create a dash chains scene then. So project settings. Nope, why am I going to project settings? Scene, new scene. 2D scene, dash chains. Where am I going to put this? So it's going to go in scenes, game object. Attack, pustule, rat trap. I'll just put it in... I guess I'll put it here in attack. Okay, so this dash chains, let's just go ahead and add a sprite 2D. New placeholder 2D. Okay. So dash change sprite 2D. Now in here, let's create a script for this. And I'm actually going to... I'm going to look at my... What was it called? Ghost. Phantom gun, that's what it's called. Phantom gun. How is the phantom gun acquiring targets? Get closest entity to position. Oh, well, there we go. That works. Except I actually probably don't want to do that. I actually don't want to do that. I think what I'll do instead is I'll use an area 2D. With a circle shape 2D. This needs to look for... Maybe I should just use a hurt or a hitbox component. So take the hitbox component, give it a wide-ish radius, and then we'll pull enemies into that. So what I'll do is I'll go in here, node, private, hitbox component, and then public override void ready, hitbox component dot what? Hit hurtbox plus equals on hit hurtbox. Private void on hit hurtbox. Hurtbox component, hurtbox component. Firebelly, what inspired you to start coding? Good question. I was inspired basically because of games. I started off making, websites and games. So I started off making like little HTML web pages with like the little marquee, going across. Obviously that's not really coding per se, but then I started adding JavaScript to the pages to make them functional. And then I also got into GameMaker and started doing scripting through that. There was also a phase that I went through early on where I was making games in the Windows command prompt because I saw someone on YouTube do it and I didn't know anything about IDEs or programming languages. So like command prompt was just like a quote unquote coding language that is just supported on all Windows XP machines out of the box, right? So I was able to just get started. So yeah, a little bit weird, but that was my start with programming. And then I just like command prompt moment. Yeah. I just kind of like stuck with it. I enjoyed it so much, even doing that command prompt stuff, nightmarish command prompt stuff. So we're going to say var velocity component. This is where it's going to get really tricky. Equal to hurtbox component dot owner dot get first node of type velocity component. If velocity component equals null, return. So what it basically needs to do is it needs to detect this on hit hurtbox here. Oh goodness, this is going to be so difficult. I basically need a way of modifying the velocity such that not only does it prevent the entity from moving forward, but it also pulls the entity in towards itself. Velocity override. Where is this being used? So I could set a velocity override maybe, and that would work. Yeah, the knockback component is using the velocity override. So I can use that. The problem is that I need to make sure to clear that velocity override. We will handle that in a little bit. Let's do this. Velocity component dot velocity override And we're going to have to update this every frame, actually. Let's just set this here for first, and then I'm already thinking of a ton of problems that are going to come up, but let's just get this working. At a very basic level. So we're going to say the velocity is equal to global position minus this velocity component is just a node, isn't it? Yeah. So we'll use the hurtbox component position. Okay, so there's our dash chains. Let's go to the dungeon level. Or dungeon arena, rather. Let's just go ahead and put dash chains in there. And I'm just going to, oops. Oh, dash chains passive. No, dash chains. Thank you. We're going to put that in there. And let's just see what happens. I'm having difficulties using Godot due to its C# API not being translated from GDScript. Some methods aren't exactly translated from snake case to Pascal case. Interesting. Pocket Pixie, what is... Do you have a specific example? Let's put a breakpoint in here. Is this not working? Where's the hitbox component used? Fire area. Oh, it needs to be on the other layer. Oops, don't want to change it there. That would have been disastrous. I want to change it here. Okay. Now let's try it. Oh, yeah, look at that. It's working. Oh, but it breaks up the velocity override when they shoot. Dang it. I think it's working. It's just that it stopped working all of a sudden. Was it even working? Now I'm confused. Let's see if it works. Let me just breakpoint this. Like for instance, unless I know it, gd.print is needed and not console write line like it is to C# to write to console. I know this is the easiest keyword to know. Oh yeah, you're right, yeah. There's some stuff that's in like global space that's different. But if you didn't know that, you wouldn't be able to use that, yeah. I think that's right. Yeah, that is true. I get confused with some of the global space stuff too. Typically, like the APIs that are in the individual classes are pretty straightforward, but there's things like flags and some constants and whatnot that are kind of hard to find. So yeah, I definitely understand where you're coming from there. Okay, so this is actually working, which is good. Now, why isn't that breakpoint being hit? Oh, did I remove that breakpoint? Oops. Now, see, that's... Oh no. Okay, so the other problem is this is a change that I made the other night, which is that hitboxes will not detect multiple hurtbox entries. Because it gets added to the ignored set. I think I can get around that. This is a little bit tricky. I got to work around some of my own technical limitations here. So the problem is that once they collide the first time, they can't collide again because I've made it so that hitboxes can fundamentally only hit things once. Which makes sense for the game up to this point, but now there's this long-lived hitbox component which is powering this dash chains thing, which is going to reel in enemies. And so what I need to do here is I actually need to keep track of all the enemies and process them. So I need to somehow keep track of all the enemies, but also when they get freed. Firebelly, from my previous problem, what could be the alternate solution for it instead of using global position to not let the button to receive in and out signal when I grab it using global position? What could be an alternate solution? That's a good question. Let's think about that for a second. What I would probably do if I'm not mistaken, I think you can set the button states, like if it's focused or pressed or disabled with code. So what I would probably do is when you grab the button, disable the mouse filter on that control node. So that way it's not detecting mouse events anymore, and then force it into the state that it was in when you started dragging it. I don't know if it's just going to be in the normal state, then you don't really need to do anything because it will default to the normal state when you disable the mouse filter. But I would set it to mouse mode ignore and then try to force the state using code while you're dragging it. And then after you're done dragging it, put the mouse filter back to the default, which I believe is stop, and then update the state again if you need to, if that makes sense. I don't think I have anyone in my attic, Kendra, I'm sorry. You lie. This is America. You best not be in attics. That's not going to be good for you. All right. So, I don't need this open anymore. Does that make sense, Neozoid? Is that going to work for your solution? Okay, so this dash chains, this is going to get very messy. I'm already regretting doing this. Private list. Active enemies. So we're going to do active enemies dot add hurtbox component And then in the process method, public override void process, what we need to do in here is we need to do for each var hurtbox in active enemies. I should change this to active enemy hurtboxes. If not is instance valid. Keep hearing strange noises. Anyway. If not is instance valid hurt box. I might have to change this actually. Active enemy hurt boxes dot remove at. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll do for var I equals 0. I is less than active enemy hurt boxes dot length or dot count. I plus plus. Yeah. What you could also do is you could fake it. You could draw like a sprite for the button. I mean, maybe that wouldn't work because the button's going to have text, but you could have like a sprite for the button and then hide the button, show the sprite, drag the sprite around, and then when you place the sprite, you hide the sprite and then teleport the button over to where you were placing it. There's a couple of ways you could do it. So var hurtbox is equal to active enemy hurtboxes I. If not is instance valid hurtbox, then what we're going to do is we're going to do active enemy hurtboxes dot remove at I, and then we're going to decrement I, and then we're going to do continue. Cool. Then otherwise we will do this. I hope that works. I hope that works. So essentially what I'm doing is I'm adding every hurt box that enters the area to a list. And then in the process method, I'm iterating over all of those. If it's not valid, I'll remove it from the list and then step back one so that the iteration can continue. Otherwise, I will set the velocity override and hopefully that works. So let's go ahead and do that. Then of course I'm going to have to release that velocity override as well. Okay, so he's getting dragged into that. This is super janky, but whatever works. And since that override velocity is being set every time, they won't get knocked back or knocked out of it. Now, so that's good. So we actually need to draw chains to each of these guys. Thanks, your answers are so good. Well, you're welcome. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that helps. I don't know, we'll see. All right, let's see if we can get some chains going on here. So, should I just use the same chains from the UI here? From the wave complete screen? I think this would probably work just fine, so I'm gonna copy this. I have no clue how this is gonna look, but okay. So let's see if we can get these chains working. This is very iffy. Might just create a class here. Private class chain connection. Line 2D chain. Hurtbox component. Hurtbox component. And then velocity component. Velocity component. And just set all of this up here. So instead of this being a list of hurtbox components, this can be a list of chain connections. And then we'll do new chain connection. Oh, is it not going to let me change these? Jertbox component. So chain is equal to node private line 2D chain line. Var new chain is equal to chain line dot duplicate new chain, and we want to do as line 2D. Private node 2D chains. Chains dot add child new chain. New chain dot visible equals true. Okay. Hurtbox component is equal to hurtbox component, and then velocity component is equal to velocity component. Cool. So we've got that now. And what I can do in here is I can say var chain connection. And then in here, chain connection dot hurtbox component. Then here, chain connection dot velocity component. Chain connection dot hurtbox component dot global position. Cool. So I've got all that stuff here, which means that now what I can do is I can update those chains. So how did I do it in the wave complete screen? I think I was setting up, yeah, these points every time, which is kind of annoying, but I'm gonna try something. So here, I'm gonna just try setting the points to be different. Or instead of reassigning the points, I'm just gonna try to assign them directly. So if I do chain connection dot chain dot points 0 is equal to global position. Well, actually, I don't need to change that one. So this one can just be the global position. Actually, this needs to be to local. No, it's going to be vector 2.0. It's going to, because it's a local position, the lines are in local position. So this actually doesn't need to change. So this points 1 just needs to be the hurtbox component. So to local chain connection dot hurtbox component dot global position. Alrighty, I guess we'll see if that works. Dungeon level, here we come. Did you enjoy using GDScript when you made globins, or were you wishing it was C#? I actually enjoyed it quite a lot. There were some places where I was like, man, I wish that the typing was a little bit better. Or I wish I had, you know, some of the structure of C#, but all in all, I found it to be a very breezy experience. It was not difficult really at all. Now, Globins is not a super complex game. It's not like nearly as complex as Gunforged. If I was making a game like Gunforged, I would still be using C#, which is what I'm using now, obviously. But I think for the game I want to make after Gunforged, I think I'm going to try to do it just an all GD script because I had so much fun making Globins in that style. And it just felt really nice. Which is like, I haven't really felt that way about GD script generally speaking, but there's something about the latest versions of GD script that just feel nice to use. It's got like, I think if they put in a little bit more effort into the typing system and the autocomplete and just made it like on par with something like a C# IDE in terms of its autocomplete capabilities, it would be awesome to use. Because really, I care about the typing the most. That helps me keep track of like what's going on in my project. But yeah, otherwise I feel like GD script is really, really fun to use. If I do a Q redraw, is that going to work? I don't know why setting the points manually doesn't work. I might read the documentation here for line 2D, see what we got going on. I might have to use these method, add points, clear points, get point count, remove point, set point position. Oh, I could do set point position actually. Set point position, index 1. This is probably going to be okay. Dungeon level, here we go. GD script's really grown on me. I wish I had some things like multiple inheritance, generics, typed dictionaries, but no shortcomings that can't be handled by compositions or such. Yeah, typed dictionaries are also coming really soon, right? Hey, look at that, we got chains! Doesn't really look like it's being reeled in though. And those chains aren't being freed, so chain connection.chain.q free here, and then, okay. Okay, it's working somewhat. I think I want to change this though. I want to make it look like the chain is actually reeling them in. So I'll reverse it. Type dictionaries are coming in 4.4. Yeah, I think, just like I said, they just need to expand. That's cool. Look at that chain pulling them in. They just need to expand like the IDE features, I think. And because like the most frustrating thing about GD script to me is when like I have something that it's like very clearly typed, and from the context you can tell what type it is, but for some reason the GD script editor doesn't recognize the type, and so I don't get autocomplete and I don't get all the safety checks. So if they can just really like just tighten that up, that would be huge. Let's make that area bigger. So that chain is working. Well, there was something I was going to do. Oh yeah, I want to make sure the chains are on the floor. So I think I want to change this actually. This.gateBaseLevel.floor.add child. New chain. So we're going to add it to the floor layer so that the chain is rendering. Well, actually, does that matter? I'm just worried about weird Y sorting issues with the chains. So it's either going to be better to put them on the floor layer or on the foreground layer, I think, so that they're rendering always behind things or always in front of things. And then this points here, this is going to be global position. I have no clue if that's going to work. As far as languages go, I don't really like GDScript or C#, but the more mature features of C# attract me the most. Also, C# can be used more than just Godot. Yeah. Look at that. Reel them in, boys. That's definitely true. I like LINQ. I like using LINQ a lot. Sorting through dictionaries and arrays is a little bit painful in GDScript, but I think that's mostly because I'm spoiled by LINQ. Has somebody made a GDScript style LINQ library yet? That would be cool. Also, the array functions only return non-typed arrays, so the conversions to get them typed again to get IntelliSense and type safety are a little annoying. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's one of the main issues I was having. Also a frequent comment on my GDScript courses as well on Udemy. Okay, let's get this dash chains thing instead of just being in the level here. Let's remove this from the level, and then let's go ahead and add the dash chains here. Show in file system, copy. Let's get this spawning in the dash chains passive. Oh, actually, I can just go here. Load this here. Quick load dash chains. There. Sweet. And then what? Oh, what am I doing? What am I doing? I need to... Oh, that's going to be spawned, right? Dash chain, scene, spawn. It's adding it to the floor. I probably want to add this to the entities instead. Cool. All right, so dungeon level, let's give it a shot. Oh, I need to, that's what I was going to do. I was going to add a lifetime to this. Add child node timer. Life timer. Auto start, one shot, 5 seconds. Life timer dot timeout plus equals on life timer timeout. So we actually have to do a couple of interesting things here. So when it times out, we have to zero out the velocity override. So we basically need to do this again. So for each var connection in active connections. Connection dot hurtbox component. Well, I have to do, yeah. If not is instance valid, connection dot hurtbox component. Say the line. Continue. Connection dot hurtbox component, or connection dot velocity component dot velocity override. Do I set this to null? Yeah, let's set that to null. And then we'll do connection.chain.queueFree. Okay, and then we can call queueFree here. And let's create a node for that life timer. So it's going to go over all the active connections. It's going to undo the velocity override and then free the chain. So hopefully that works. I learned about .cast from Link from the course. Great little nugget there. Cool, yeah. Yeah, Link is great. It has all kinds of nice stuff. Add passive dash chains. Well, that didn't work. Oh, that's because... Wait, did I not add it? Right, because I need to add it here. Add initial table item. I think that's what I need to do. I see your questions here. I'll get to that in just a second. Add passive dash chains. Why is that not working? Object reference not set to an instance of object. Oh, this has to be a player passive. Yeah, I forgot to extend player passive. Oops. Okay. When you were designing gun options, did you look to any other games when trying to determine the size of the pool of options? For instance, looking at Slay the Spire and their pool of artifacts. No, I think that... So this is a question that I've had myself, is like, what is the appropriate size of options? I think that... So the one thing that I want to avoid is adding options for the sake of adding options, right? I don't want to add options if it's just going to be a slightly different flavor of the same thing. So what I've done for a lot of what I'm doing is, like, I make sure that every affix is differentiated in some way from every other affix, and that every passive is as well. And I also try to avoid, and I have some of this in the game, but I also try to avoid the over-reliance on just like raw stat increases. And so when I'm thinking about adding passives or affixes, I'm mostly thinking about what can I create that will introduce something that is unique into the game. And yeah, I have like a number in mind of what I'd like to get to in terms of that number of like options, but yeah, I think there's a bunch of interesting considerations, like at what point is there going to be so many options that most players are never going to see all the options, or are you adding options just to pad out the content of your game, or are each of the options actually adding something unique to it? I don't know. That's kind of a rambling answer, but I've thought about this quite a bit, and while I do want to hit a certain number, I also want to keep in mind that everything needs to feel unique. And I think that's probably the more important thing, is that as long as the options are varied and they each give you something different, then I think you can get away with a smaller number. But I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully that gives you some insight. I obviously haven't made like a super successful roguelike that has these kind of options, so I'm kind of learning along with you guys and trying to figure out, what's going on. Just make sure that your code will run on consoles like Switch if you make a commercial game. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, redundancy is to be avoided. Yeah, honestly, I think that's the main thing. Obviously, you want variety, but if the variety is just variations of like stat changes, it's like, well, that works great in some genres, but... All right, so let's see now if that works. So if I add this dash chains, I get this for real. When dashing, create a machine that reels in nearby enemies. Blah! Nice, look at that. Now let's see if it actually frees them from its clutches. Nice. It's a little bit janky. They're still able to, like, knock themselves back. Which, without a more sophisticated velocity system... What happens if I put 2 of them on the same? Is it just gonna... They're gonna fight over each other? That's fine, as long as they're working still. So they can still knock themselves back when they shoot, but I don't think that's a huge issue. I think the gist of the passive works there. Sweet. I think that's looking real good. How many items do I have here? 33 to 51. So that's what? 18? Is that how many passes I have here? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. I'm missing some unless I... Oh, I guess I miscounted. Okay, there are about 19 here. I need to figure out a way of doing this loot table better. I originally had it in my head that I was going to have different passives have different weights, but I actually don't know if that's useful. So I don't know. Lots of stuff I could change here. But anyway, let's commit this. Initial work on dash chains. All right, that is going to be it for the stream tonight. Got a lot of work done, so I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all for hanging out with me. It was great. Once again, if you want to support me, you can check out the links in the description below. My new C# course for Godot is still on sale. It's the first link in the description, so grab that while it's hot. And am I also streaming on Twitch now? I am not. And the reason is because Twitch does not allow you to merge chats like multi-stream chat. So I can't have YouTube chat showing on Twitch. And that kind of ruins the stream. So I could get rid of the little chat in the video, but that would be boring, wouldn't it? But anyway, thank you all for hanging out. Thank you all for your support. And hit that notification bell to be notified when I'm live again. And I hope you all have a great rest of your day. All right, take care, everyone. See you in the next one.